Okay, that's a good sign. spectacular.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. If I could save time in a bottle, first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. If I could make days last.
Try and do justice for you. This was released 40 years ago today. Back in the mid-60s, my dad was in the National Guard.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? Well, Glory up there, aren't we? Never fix that. Have a list. You gotta have me. Good morning, everybody. Can I get a series of thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, thanks. All right, I'd ask everybody in the meantime to we're gonna try to all be adults here if we can and keep ourselves muted until we get called on. So I can patrol that, but I'll trust all of you to patrol that for now if you could, if you would. I appreciate everybody being here on a beautiful Monday morning here, at least in the capital city. I hope it is beautiful wherever you are. We're here to discuss the merits of and your thoughts on HJR 3, the Property Tax Modernization Amendment. And I'll call this virtual public hearing to order. We've gotten better and better at these, and I hope that that this one goes the same. I'll run through a few procedural points, and then we'll get started. The House Rules of Conduct and Procedures of decorum do apply, and we expect everybody to act in a professional manner as well as we will in this room. Members and individuals are not to speak out of turn. Please hold any public displays of support or opposition in any manner as other people are speaking. Those who have completed speaking are welcome to leave, but we would encourage you to stay so you can hear all points of view. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel, so anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of public opinion. I will call everybody's name, and then with an on deck, announcements. So whoever is next to speak, I'll announce so that person can be ready. When I announce you, go ahead and just unmute, get started. I will give each presenter 2 minutes, and then we will move along from there. If you have written materials that you desire to have disseminated among members of this committee, please feel free to email those to Mark White, our clerk. That's markwhite@wvhouse.gov, and he will be happy to pass those out. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get started. The first presenter this morning is Kim Menke, followed by Betty Rivard. So Mr. Menke, welcome.
Thank you. And I'm speaking today in favor of House Joint Resolution 3, the Property Tax Modernization Amendment. My name is Kim Menke. I'm the Regional Director of Government Affairs for Toyota North America. I support our West Virginia plant in Buffalo, as well as 3 other component plants that we have in Tennessee, Missouri, and Kentucky, as well as 2 of our vehicle manufacturing plants in Kentucky and Mississippi. Basically, the West Virginia personal property tax on inventory, machinery, and equipment basically penalizes capital investment and is an obstacle to overcoming competition amongst our plants, for instance. So when we have the opportunity for new products or new lines, we have to compete amongst all of our Toyota companies within, not only within North America, but also globally. And so this particular tax is one of the things that is one of the hurdles that we have to overcome in competing for new projects. Certainly we want to grow, and we just recently announced a new investment for Buffalo. And we were successful there, but it becomes a real challenge in competing with our other states. And so we would encourage passage of this so that the voters could decide. Certainly, we want to protect the revenues that go to each of the agencies within local and state government, and a more modernized plan that would satisfy those needs and keep West Virginia competitive is what we're looking for. So we would support this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Menke. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Betty Rivard, followed by Kelly Allen. Ms. Rivard? I see you're muted there, Ms. Rivard. You want me to unmute you, or you want to unmute yourself?
I've unmuted. Am I okay?
Oh, you're good. You're loud and clear. Perfect. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm on audio only because I haven't figured out the video on this program. I appreciate your holding this public hearing. And my name is Betty Rivard. I'm an independent advocate based in Charleston. The way I read, I'm opposed to this resolution. And the way I read it, it's like you're telling the voter that you're giving us the privilege to vote on a constitutional amendment. But what may not be clear to me or other voters is that a vote for the constitutional amendment means that we're giving the legislature the power to make local decisions for us. So we're losing our vote on those issues from now on, after this constitutional amendment would be approved, if it were approved. So it's really, to me, a kind of a false premise that this is empowering the voters. The way I look at it, it's like you're telling me to turn over my checkbook. And then I discover that you have allowed businesses and corporations, some of them based out of state, like those we may hear from today, to stop paying taxes that support local schools and police and fire departments and affect the people who are living in the communities. And this leaves big holes in our budgets locally that require us to pay higher taxes or suffer cuts in critical services. And then these cuts make our communities less likely to attract the kind of businesses that care about how we live in our local communities or how their workers live in our local communities. And I think we want to attract businesses and we want to keep businesses here, but they're the ones who care. And I'm also concerned that the other tax measures that are being looked at will further reduce our capacity to fill any holes and, in fact, put us backwards. So as a voter, I would actually be using my one vote to give up future votes on finances that directly impact me, my quality of life, and the prospects for the future for my family and my community. I think the resolution is wrong for our state, and I request that you oppose it. And also,
Thank you very much, Ms.
in the
Rivard.
Senate.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Kelly Allen, followed by Scott Lemley. Ms. Allen, good to see you.
Mr. Chairman. Good to see you. Property taxes are largely the domain of local governments. In 2020, counties, municipalities, and school districts collected $1.9 billion from property taxes, while the state only received $8 million. Personal property accounts for almost 1/3 of all of the property tax revenue in the state, and HJR 3 would take authority over some of those taxes away from local governments, who get, over 99% of it, and give it to the legislature. Again, despite the fact that less than 0.5% of property tax revenue actually goes to state government. This sets up a scenario where counties no longer have the authority to ensure they have adequate revenues to provide the local services they will still be responsible for, and their constituents will still expect them to provide at the same level. While the state will have to replace some lost public education funding through the school aid formula, there's no requirement to replace funding from excess levies, which make up nearly 40% of property tax revenues, and neither would the state be required to replace funding that covers other public safety measures, like volunteer fire departments. 22 counties in our state use property tax funding via their budgets to fund volunteer fire departments at over $4 million per year. I'll close by saying that West Virginia has among the lowest property taxes in the country, both real and personal, for both businesses and individuals. The Conservative Tax Foundation ranks West Virginia as the 18th best state for business property tax climate, and 35 states tax either manufacturing and or inventory, so we are not an outlier. On the other hand, this is significant funding for schools and public services that would be very difficult to replace without raising taxes on homeowners and residents of the state. The personal property tax directly funds benefits that businesses receive: police and fire protection, high quality schools that attract and educate employees. So businesses have a stake in paying this tax too. And HJR 3, like past proposals, would weaken local government's ability to make the investments that promote the growth that our state wants to see. So please reject HJR 3.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Scott Lemley, followed by Agnes Queen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this time you've given me this morning to speak. I'm obviously opposed to HJR 3 in its current format. Some of the issues that stick out to me is number one, we are voted by the citizens in our county and in our state, and I believe this does a disservice to them because it shifts all valuation assessment of property to the state legislature. And right now, the assessor is the assessing authority on every species of property with the exception of public utility properties. And we are responsible to appraise and assess all commercial, residential, real estate, and farm properties, and we also are responsible for assessing and appraising all personal property accounts regarding residential commercial accounts. And I worry about the appeal process our citizens will go through, or what our citizens need to understand when they have questions about their assessment, the taxability, how we arrived at that value. If the responsible authority for this is for the legislature to provide the answers, I'm worried that there's no more local control at the government level, and there's going to be so much red tape that the average citizen has to cut through that they're not going to be able to get adequate answers or in an adequate amount of time as it relates to the assessment and appraisement of their properties. We could go into real quick the shifting of the tax burden. I worry about, will this tax burden be shifted upon our citizens regarding the elimination of tangible personal property? Is there going to be an increase in sales taxes, increase in real estate taxes? What will it do to the assessment ratio? And I noticed there wasn't a fiscal note with this joint resolution with one of the amendments, and that's concerning as well. But the main point I want to stick at home or regarding to my opposition, is that I just think it does a major disservice to our citizens having a voice at the local level and be able to have their questions answered and be able to talk to someone. So thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lemley. Agnes Queen, followed by Mike Clauser.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. First of all, I just want to let you know that I'm with the County Commission Association, and I represent all county commissioners throughout West Virginia, as well as my hometown in Lewis County. We are opposed to this HJR 3. We feel that the local level is where we need to be able to make the ruling on our budgets and our money that's collected. We don't want to have to cut services. A lot of our counties are having trouble now with their budgets dwindling each year. Taking that power out of our hands and the ability to what we have to work with makes it even harder. We're fortune tellers now, trying to determine what's going to happen in the future. With that ability for us to manage our own money and know where our taxes are and where they're coming from is just going to hinder us for what we do. And the taxes are going to raise. We don't want the elderly and those who have property who are having a hard time now making payments on their taxes to have that greater burden. And we feel that it should stay local. We don't want to lose services with police, fire, EMS, and those things do happen when we cut budgets. And we just are very concerned about that, and we do oppose your HJR 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Clauser, followed by Rick Henley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Clauser. I'm speaking today on behalf of the West Virginia Business and Industry Council. Excuse me, I'm sorry. BIC represents more than 400,000 West Virginia workers in our 50-member firms throughout the state. One of our goals is, of course, to enhance the business climate in West Virginia. BIC supports HJR 3. We believe it gives the legislature the flexibility at a future date to evaluate and address the way the taxation of tangible personal property, including inventory, machinery, and equipment of the state's manufacturers' inventory held by our small businesses. Taxing capital is a disincentive to investing in growth, we believe, throughout the state of West Virginia. HJR 3 puts the matter in the voters' hands, and if passed, would allow legislative authority to determine how tax is treated in the future for future growth in West Virginia. I understand the concerns of our counties and municipalities. We believe that HJR does not change or reduce current rates on tangible personal property tax in West Virginia. We believe it does not change the budget for the state of West Virginia, counties, municipalities, or schools. And we do not believe it raises or lowers any tangible personal property taxes. We feel that the future changes in valuation of taxation would have to go through the full legislative process, which everyone would have an opportunity to review and discuss and work in the best interest of business, of localities, and hopefully of future development in the state of West Virginia. And for those reasons, the West Virginia Business and Industry Council appreciates the opportunity to be here today in support of HJR 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clauser. Rick Henley, followed by Tammy Tincher.
Good morning, Chairman, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to your committee on HJR 3. I'm Rick Hanley, Mason County Commissioner and a board member for both the County Commissioners Association and the West Virginia Association of Counties. I'm currently in my 25th year as a county commissioner and had the pleasure of working with several House of Delegates and senators in those 25 years. But I must say I'm a realist. I would also say with the numbers the Senate and the House probably have in passing this bill, along with the governor's definite approval, I expect the passage of the proposed major tax reform may take place. My problem is with setting our budget, I have yet to see where all the money we would have received from state taxes would come from in this tax reform. I know there's other taxes to be levied, but as a commissioner, how are we to be guaranteed receiving the same amount we are now, seeing we have no ability to set our own taxes in our county? I think we as county commissioners need to know what to expect, when we will receive this information, how much will the state control the assessments of the property? Will the property values be different in various counties? How does this affect the present levies that have been voted on by the citizens of the county and so forth? Personally, I don't know the answers to any of these questions, and we as county commissioners need to know what we are to tell our constituents before they probably may vote on this in November of 2022. One way to help us understand would be to send one or more of you to the West Virginia Association of Counties annual meeting here in Charleston at the embassy on Monday, June the 14th or 15th, to let us know what this resolution may do and what we are to expect in the future concerning this anticipated revenue to our counties. We just need to know that HJR 3 and the legislature is making a commitment to fill in our county budgets as they are now. Will we as county government have a seat at the table to form a plan with our legislators to make sure we are able to fund our vital entities of county government? We, the county commissioners of West Virginia and the West Virginia Association of Counties, just need that commitment, a plan from you before you ask us to blindly accept this. We just want you to cooperate with us in this endeavor, and like a good neighbor, we are here to help. Once again, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I thank you for listening to my comments on behalf of the County Commissioners Association of West Virginia and the West Virginia Association of Counties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Tammy Tincher, followed by Phyllis Yoakum.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak this morning regarding HJR 3, the Property Tax Modernization Amendment. I understand that this amendment, as many legislators have commented, and some of the speakers on this call have simply said, is simply putting it on the ballot to be decided upon by the West Virginia voters. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my support of the people of West Virginia making their voices heard and showing their support, for the lack thereof, regarding any proposed law in our state. It's the epitome of who we are as West Virginians, but more importantly, as Americans. With all of this being said, I do come to you today in opposition of HJR 3. As a county commissioner who works daily to make sure that I understand the financial ins and outs of Greenbrier County's operations and studies the revenues and expenses to make sure our county is being fiscally responsible in order to make sure we can operate on a balanced budget throughout the year. I cannot support being involved in a process which does not provide counties an understanding of what their financial futures may hold. We're faced with funding being cut annually from numerous line items in our budgets because revenues do not come in as anticipated, whether it be from taxes, severance payments, utilities payments, just to name a few. All while expenses are guaranteed to go up, including but not limited to the all-elusive jail bill. As a commissioner, I work extremely hard to do the best I can for my county, just as many of the other commissioners do across the state, and also as you as legislators do for our state. I recognize and appreciate the significance of decreasing or eliminating property taxes in West Virginia, but I also recognize the counties will take the full brunt of any such change without any guarantee of future legislatures. We work for our counties, and we need to know that they will be financially protected. We ask for more open and transparent communication and a proposed or suggested plan to consider before the voters are asked to consider this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Phyllis Yoakum, followed by Rick Wilson.
Good morning from beautiful Randolph County. I'm Phyllis Yoakum, Randolph County Assessor and immediate past president of the West Virginia Association of Counties. Thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to speak in opposition of the resolution. The first thing that really makes me notice is it says the legislature shall have exclusive authority to establish evaluation, assessment valuation, classification, the maximum rates for levying bodies, and exemptions. That's pretty much everything involved with ad valorem taxes. And my understanding as we started into these last couple of years of the legislature was that Um, the legislature wanted the counties to have the authority to govern their counties. This completely takes away all of that. We can't set our assessment rates. Levying bodies can't set their levy rates. We can't do exemptions. We don't have any authority over anything. This completely takes it away. And unlike the last 2 years where we were discussing machinery and equipment for businesses, this is very open-ended. So my question is, what does this include? Does it include car dealerships? Does it include our grocery box stores like Walmart and Kroger? Coal mining equipment, personal property like office furniture? What does this really include? We don't know because it's very open-ended. And there is no elected official across this state that would not welcome a new business or new businesses, multiple businesses into our county. That's something that we welcome. We want you here. And Mr. Minky, we take a Toyota plant in Randolph County any day. And so we want to work with you. We want to work with the legislature on machinery and equipment. We do not want to hinder business from coming to our great state. So, that is not an issue. Please don't think it is. The last 2 years, we were looking at anywhere from $100 million to $160 million in cuts. With this resolution, we don't know any fiscal note. We don't even know. We can't begin to imagine what kind of money this is going to take out of our counties and our state. The government's plan.
Thank you.
Oh,
If
you're
you could
welcome.
wrap up your remarks, thank you.
Okay, these are county monies. So, we need a seat at the table, and that's what we're asking for, to help the legislature come up with a plan that's good for our citizens, good for our counties, and good for our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Rick Wilson, followed by Rebecca McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rick Wilson with the American Friends Service Committee, coming to you from Cabell County. I apologize for the rooster in the background. If you look at the history of West Virginia and taxation and economic development, it's a history of missed opportunities. We have vast natural wealth that was inadequately taxed. The profits have left the state for more than a century, often leaving communities with little to show for it. This isn't anything new. In 1884, the Tax Commission warned that the question is whether this vast wealth should belong to the persons who live here and who are permanently identified with the state of West Virginia, or whether it shall pass into the hands of persons who do not live here, who care nothing for our state except to pocket the treasures which are buried in its hills. In 1932, the state passed a property tax limitation amendment, which limited the ability of the state and local governments to respond to the Great Depression. In 1985, super tax credits were enacted in the hopes of luring the Saturn plan in here. What actually happened was that many of the tax credits went to coal companies who used the credit to automate and eliminate jobs. In 2007, legislation was passed that phased out the business franchise tax and reduced the corporate income tax. We were promised that these would take care of themselves and create many jobs. As we now know, that didn't happen. This amendment, I believe now, would hurt not only, as we've heard from many people, county governments, local governments, in particular public education, and it would move away from the vision of those who crafted the state constitution, where it says the legislature shall provide by general law for a thorough and efficient system of free schools, and the legislature shall foster and encourage moral, intellectual, scientific, and agricultural improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Rebecca McPhail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Rebecca McPhail, and I represent the West Virginia Manufacturers Association in our support of HJR 3. Manufacturers provide nearly 48,000 direct jobs in West Virginia and countless additional jobs in supporting businesses. We believe that it's time for West Virginia to provide the authority to our legislature to address tax structures for the benefit of economic and job growth. HJR 3 represents a step in allowing future adjustments to tangible personal property taxation in West Virginia by putting the issue in the hands of West Virginia voters while maintaining oversight of the full legislative process. HJR 3 gives West Virginia voters the opportunity to untie the hands of our legislature, providing the flexibility at a future date to analyze and address the taxation of tangible personal property. HJR3 does not change or reduce current rates on tangible personal property tax in West Virginia. It does not change budgets for counties, municipalities, or schools. It does not raise or lower any tangible personal property taxes, and it does not change or increase caps on real property. HJR simply gives West Virginia voters the opportunity to determine future outcomes. As Kim said from Toyota, for manufacturers, the state's personal property tax on inventory, machinery, and equipment penalizes capital investment and acts as a disincentive to growth. Despite West Virginia's competitive position in overall taxation, we are only one of 2 states in the country that taxes manufacturing, inventory, machinery, and equipment without offering broad-based exemptions. The application of these taxes creates a competitive disadvantage for the Mountain State. At 46th in capital-intensive manufacturing, our ranking leaves a lot to be desired. The WVMA and its members support letting West Virginia voters weigh in on this important issue and hope that you will support HJR3. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ms. McPhail. Are there other, I believe that concludes all the speakers that have signed up this morning. I do appreciate everybody on a Monday morning being with us, informing us and educating us on these issues from the ground. We certainly understand and appreciate and respect all of the opinions today. With that, that concludes our hearing today. Again, if there are written materials, please submit those through the Committee on the Judiciary. As you know, I believe this bill, or this resolution is on first reading today on the floor. So stay tuned. We're all in touch and we appreciate. With that, I'll call this public hearing to a close and adjourn. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a nice week.